Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to another episode of Engineering with Shamil, and this is episode number 19. And we are going to discuss about integration of fire alarm with other systems. So, the previous episode we had discussed about the cause and effect logic in fire alarm systems, and today we are going one step further in order to understand what exactly happens when a fire alarm system is activated and how the other systems, like how some of the few systems will actually respond to the fire alarm systems. Okay, so let's see what integration actually means. So integration is actually a communication of the fire alarm system with the other systems which is installed in the building in order to provide an automated response during an emergency situation. Okay, so in case of a fire alarm activates, then the associated systems which are there in the building, for example BMS, HVAC, public address, elevators, sprinkler systems, etc., like how they are being automated, what all commands, what all actions these systems need to take in order to provide a safe evacuation for the occupants. This is what integration is all about. So again, if you are going back to the human analogy, human body analogy, fire alarm system is like the brain. Okay, once it gets activated, it will send commands to the other systems, and other systems is like the body which will respond by taking necessary actions in order to protect the building, okay, during an emergency situation. So this is what integration is all about. So let's see a few systems on how they react for towards a fire alarm system. So in HVAC system, the HVAC system, normally when a fire occurs, it will shut down. It will shut down all the associated equipment with respect to the HVAC system. The reason why the HVAC equipment has to shut down is because it is to prevent the smoke spread. It is to prevent the fire spread. That is why we actually shut down the HVAC equipment. Okay, this is the simple explanation for HVAC. The second system is public address. So normally when a fire occurs, when a fire alarm gets activated, the public address, public address is actually used for general announcement. And during normal conditions, it is used for general announcements. It is used for broadcasting music, okay, for playing music in big buildings and all, in large buildings and all. So during a fire situation, what happens is when the fire alarm gets activated, the public address, the fire alarm will override the public address and it will instruct the public address to play emergency evacuation instructions. Okay, so this is how a fire alarm system is interacting with the public address during the time of emergency. So the fire alarm system will override the public address to play the evacuation emergency instructions. Okay, so that is about the public address system. The next system is the BMS. So BMS is basically building management system, and the main purpose of building management system is to provide a centralized monitoring for all the systems. So if there is a fire alarm activation in the building, the BMS will receive an alarm notification and it will notify to the building management saying that there is an alarm. Okay, so that is how the fire alarm system is communicating with the building management system during the time of emergency. The last one that we are going to discuss today in today's video is the sprinkler system. So in sprinkler system, if there is a water flow movement, okay, if there's a water flow movement, or if someone has unnecessarily turned off, close the valve in any location. Okay, okay. So these actions, that is the water flow movement and the tampering of the valves, if anything happens, this will be actually this will be signal. This will be communicated to the fire alarm control panel, and the fire alarm control panel will then detect this one and then notify it to the building occupants or the building or the first emergency responders. Okay, so this is how the sprinkler system is communicated with the fire alarm system. I will repeat once again for the sprinkler system. That is, if there is any water flow movement, or if there is any tampering of the valves or switches or any kind, the in both cases, a signal will be sent to the fire alarm control panel. Okay. Normally, in normal cases, if there's a water flow movement, an alarm signal will be provided to the fire alarm control panel. And if there is any tampering of the switches, a supervisory signal will be sent to the fire alarm control panel. Okay. And next to the flow switch and the tamper switch, there will be a monitor module, which is actually connected to the fire alarm control panel. So the main purpose of the monitor module is to interact with the flow switch and the tamper switch. Okay. So it basically detects the activation and faults. So this is how a sprinkler system will be communicated with the fire alarm system. So this is as you can see in this slide, is actually a small flow diagram. Okay, this is just a summary. It's like a single slide of it's like an overview of whatever we had discussed. So whenever a fire alarm gets activated, the fire alarm will send the signals to the integrated systems. So for HVAC system, it will shut down. For public address, it will override. For BMS, it will send an alert. For sprinkler system, it will monitor. It will monitor the sprinkler system. Okay. So in case if there is any water movement or tampering, it will send the flow, the monitor module which is associated with the sprinkler system will be communicating to the control panel, and the control panel will initiate the necessary alarm or the supervisory signal as per the client requirements. Okay. Now, we will actually go to the purpose of each action. What is the reason why these systems are behaving in this manner? Why they should behave in this manner? Okay, what is the purpose behind it? So before that, before we get inside to each system, we will actually discuss on what is the importance of integration. So the important reasons of integration is that first one, life safety. So whenever there's a fire alarm activation, we have discussed that each system should behave in this manner. For example, HVAC associated equipment shall shut down. The BMS should actually provide a centralized monitoring. It should notify the building management, and it should actually the public address will go for overriding. All these things is only for the sake of life safety. Okay, that is for the occupants to be alert, and it is also to protect. It's for the occupants to be alert and also for them to take action. Okay, the second reason is property protection. For example, if we are shutting down the HVAC, we are actually controlling the smoke spread and the fire spread. Okay, so that the building will be protected. Centralized control, that is the third one. So centralized control is that the BMS will be showing all the alarms in one place. And the last reason is that code compliance. So whatever we are doing, whatever we are actually proposing when it comes to the integration, like for example, HVAC shutdown, public address mute, public address overriding, etc. All these are as per the requirements of the codes that we are following. For example, NFPA 72, okay, or otherwise the local fire regulations. Like since I am in Qatar, we follow the Qatar civil defense regulations. Okay, so in case if it is prescribed over there, then we have to follow that particular clause. Okay, so this is about the integration. This is about why integration is important. So to summarize, I will just explain with regards to the flow diagram, that is this one which we have discussed. So we'll just briefly see of how on why the HVAC should behave in this manner. Okay, so HVAC system, once it gets shut down upon the fire activation, the main purpose is to avoid the spread of fire, to stop the spread of fire. The second one is public address. The public address during the time of an emergency situation, during the time of a fire situation, it will speak evacuation instructions. And the building management system, it will tell the building manager that there is a fire. It will provide a centralized monitoring for all the fires. And the last one is the sprinkler system. It will communicate with the fire alarm system saying that there is a flow, there is a water flow movement inside the pipes. So this is how the associated systems in the building will be communicated with the fire alarm systems. Okay. So to conclude or to summarize, integration is basically the communication of a fire alarm system with the other systems in order to coordinate an emergency response. We need to automate all these emergency response. That is the reason why we have the integration. So HVAC, when you are activating the fire alarm system, the HVAC system will shut down and it will stop the spread of smoke movement. The public address, it will deliver clear evacuation instructions. The building management system, it will provide you a central alarm monitoring. And the sprinkler system, it will provide you a water flow supervision. Okay, so this is the so the result of all of this is that the reason why we are doing all these things is that all this integration is that it's for providing faster, smarter, and more importantly, safer emergency response. Okay, during the time of fire. So that is how important integration is when it comes to the fire alarm systems. So with this, I come to an end. Thank you for listening. And in case if you have any doubts, queries, or feedback related to topic of integration, you may you may post them in the comment section. You may post them in the chat section, and I will be happily responding to them, happily responding to your queries. Okay, and before I sign off, I would humbly request all of you to kindly like, share, and subscribe in order to produce more videos, more content with regards to the fire alarm system and all other engineering topics. Thank you once again, and I sign off, wishing all of you a good day.